Staying with business today, and today we are talking about the e-mobility sector. We are looking at the EV chargers, and joining us is Iyadi, who is the CEO and co-founder EV Charger. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and now let's get right into the conversation. Big issue because when you look at climate change, when you're trying to look at green and the sustainable energy, we are looking at the electric mobility. And you are a player in this sector, the EV charger. First of all, before we even get to the charger, Kenya to embrace this move at this time, going electric, is it the right time? And do you think that it is a move that is supposed to be embraced at this moment?
Yes, I definitely think it's the right time. As Kenya, we're in a very unique position compared to many countries around the world. Now, at this point, 90% of our energy is renewable. Mm-hmm. And at the second point, we are ranked number 83 out of 131 countries in terms of air pollution. So 131 is the least polluting country, and we're number 83. So we're doing very good, but we can improve, because even being number 83, at least 19,000 people die in our country just because of air pollution. Mm-hmm. The main air pollution causes are public transport. These are the buses, matatus, and also private transport, mm-hmm. and also the PSVs that,
yes,
like the ride-hailing vehicles. So, as part of EV Charger, what we want to do is we want to, help solve these problems. Align with the SG goals, save lives, improve, people's welfare, and also, on top of that, reduce people's living of costs. Mm-hmm. So we do that by providing charging infrastructure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Even as you give the charging infrastructure, of course, earlier on, I was just alluding to the fact that we have like almost 1,350 vehicles or using electricity, but now the challenge is the infrastructure. And of course, when you look at the infrastructure and try to look at the charging systems that we have, many people wouldn't want to go the electric way because the charging systems that we have, first of all, if you look within Nairobi itself, I don't know from your statistics what you can give us, and how many charging systems, first of all, do we have even within Nairobi, so that at least when we say we are looking at the e-mobility sector and trying to get people to use this kind of system of transport, that they're going to get it the right way, especially when it comes to the charging stations. So first of all, how many charging stations do we have?
We have 6 charging stations.
Within Nairobi?
Around the country.
Around the country, okay.
We want to serve everyone. We don't want just to be specific with the region, but I know some regions have more electric vehicles than others. Mm-hmm. But we have 6. So we have 1 charging station in Kisumu, at Mega City Mall. We have at Nanyuki. Mm-hmm. We have 2 in Nairobi, which is at Two Rivers Mall and Karen Waterfront. Mm-hmm. And then we have another one at City Mall Nyali in Mombasa. Mm-hmm. By the end of this year in Nairobi, we aim to have 6 total charging stations. So we are adding another 4 charging stations at least by end of this year. Mm-hmm. So already installing one tomorrow, a new charging station. If you follow our social media, you'll see which new charging station is coming up. Mm-hmm. We also have an app where you can see the charging stations online. Okay. But in general, I know the fear of most people is the initial cost of an electric vehicle. So you find a lot of people say, "Oh, electric vehicles are too expensive." But people view electric vehicles as just like a Tesla. You don't have to be wealthy to own an electric vehicle. An electric vehicle can come from, as low as 1 million shillings. this is brand new prices, to 100 million shillings. But if you can afford 1 million, get 1 million. I can't afford 100 million, but I can at least get a vehicle for myself where my cost of living is heavily reduced. Yeah, so for example, like my vehicle myself, I have an electric Golf from Volkswagen. I spend a maximum of 3,000 to 3,500 now. Things have gone up, cost of living has gone up. 3,000 to 3,500 shillings right now per month. You find there's some people who spend that per day on fuel.
Okay.
It's very expensive, and it's puzzling to me. To why, maybe I'm biased because I'm into mobility, but it's puzzling to me why someone spends so much money just on fuel when there's an easier solution. So by expanding the network of chargers within Nairobi for now, and then going to other cities, we want to put people at ease, where they can say, okay, I can now get an electric vehicle, even though most of your charging will be done at home. And we also have solutions for home charging.
All right. Just let me hold you right there. We'll come to the home charging. But first of all, even as we look at the public and trying to look at, EPRA was saying just a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, they were talking about setting up charging stations in within a length of 25 kilometers from one station from the other. How sustainable is this, and how is it going to happen? Because as you've mentioned, in the country right now, EV charger, you have 6 charging stations. But now we are looking at EPRA coming up and saying, okay, we want to set up charging stations from this point 25 kilometers away, another station. So how sustainable is it?
Of course, it's very sustainable, but we need support. Charging stations and chargers are expensive in terms of the public area. The home chargers are way less expensive than the public ones. But we need support from government in terms of tax incentives from both the stakeholders. I'm not even only talking about charging infrastructure for 4-wheelers. I'm also talking about charging infrastructure for borders,
yes,
3-wheelers, and the buses. And the buses kind of fit in the same lane as the 4-wheelers. As long as you get government support, it becomes very simpler for stakeholders and businesses to set that up. There's also a partnership even with the government and similar stakeholders in the same industry, or where you can have those in place. I remember when we founded the company in 2020, there was less than 3-4. Actually, there was 0 public, accessible to the public, charging infrastructure. But now with just our company, we have 6. And there's some other companies which have put others in place. So we're moving forward in the right direction. We just need government support to help us support, number one, the business. And as long as the business is supported, the community is also supported.
All right. Now, let's look at home charging infrastructure. So can someone decide to set up the charging infrastructure in their home? And what goes about this? So we have installed about, just in the last couple of months, we've installed 4 charging stations for people at homes. At home?
At homes. So the perception is that you can only have a charging station if you have like a backyard and all this stuff. But if you even live in an apartment, you can have a charging station there, where it's not just your specific, it's not just for you. what happens is you can organize with your neighbors who have, full electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids. A lot of people have plug-in hybrids.
Yes.
So where you can, it's just a matter of organizing, like, okay, I'll charge between this time and this time, and then you will charge between this time and this time. So we've done that, and all it requires is, at least for us, to have an arrangement with the management company in terms of apartments. In terms of homes where you live in your own compound, it's just for us to do a site visit, tell you how much it will cost to put it up, and we have also financing capabilities on making it easy for you in your pocket. But it makes it very easy, because what happens when you have a charging station at your home is that when you park your car and you're done with your travels at the end of the day, all you do is just plug your car, just the way you plug your phone in your charger at the end of the day. And when you wake up in the morning, every single day your car is full. And then you can do your travels. And even though your car is not empty, by the time you get back home, you just plug it in.
All right. That's very interesting. I would really want to see this, because I can imagine you just park your car, you plug it in, and then it's charging. So first of all, is there an amount of electricity that or power that the vehicle can take from one point to another? For example, if you've charged it the whole night, and now maybe the next day you want to travel from Nairobi to my place in Kisii, in Nyamira, is it, can I say I can go with the car up to that place and come back with it, or you need to go with the car to that place, and then when you reach there, you also find another charging station for you to come back? So the duration of the power that is within the vehicle, is it going to take, what time is it going to take, or does it mean that the time that you charge depends on the time, the sustainability of that of the electricity?
Yes, so it's a bit of a loaded question. I don't want to take too long on explaining, but what happens is, for example, like you say, Kisii, if you leave with your car full and you want to go to Kisii from Nairobi, that's part of the problem that we're trying to solve. You can be able to charge your vehicle in Naivasha, Nakuru, and then going forward. Once you get there, as it's more of a top-up, not a full charge. Once you get to your area, if you have a power source, your car also comes with a charger. You can plug it into a 3-pin socket. But if not, you can plan yourself to come back and continue charging in Nakuru, Naivasha, back into Nairobi. It's just all about range anxiety. It's a big thing that really makes people not make people not want to get an electric car. So if you have an electric car, even though mostly you charge it at home, and let's say you can even go with your vehicle, depending on the range, back to Kisii and back to your home without charging, most people want to see the charging stations around, because a charging station is pretty much a petrol station. There's pretty much the only difference is the time it takes to charge. So for the chargers that we have right now, it can take from 1 hour to 4 hours to charge it from 0 to full. But these charging stations are not for you to charge from 0 to full. It's just a top-up. So you'll find you spend the average that we get on our charging stations 30 minutes to 1 hour where someone is charging, or where someone is just topping up or decided to go to a supermarket and shop and just plug it in and get some extra juice. But the charges that we want to put between Nairobi and Mombasa within the next year, those ones can charge from 0 to 80% within 30 minutes. So at your rest stop, we'll get that done. While you're having your sausage and chips, your charger will get to 80%. And as we build this network, we don't only want to just concentrate on Kenya, we want to concentrate on the region. But I believe we can really build a huge network, and it will help in people adopt e-mobility. And I think we can do that within the next year. Like I said, by December we'll have at least 6 charging stations here in Nairobi. So whichever place you are within Nairobi, or the outskirts, close outskirts of Nairobi, and you're driving an electric car, and maybe you're low on your battery, you know there's somewhere close by that you'll be able to charge. Okay.
So even as we talk about the charging stations, and we talk about all this idea of making sure that at least each and every area within Nairobi has a charging station, let's also look at KPLC. And I remember in May, Kenya Power had requested some tariff for electric vehicles for owners to purchase power at discounted prices, and in a bid to reduce charging costs and incentivize the EV field. And therefore, there was a charge, a lesser charge, especially for the electric users, for maybe 17 shillings, and also a kilowatts of electricity. And for the unit power for domestic users was 27 shillings. Is this something that is going to help out, especially because you've said electric vehicle users fear, especially, or people who want to buy them fear about the cost? So when Kenya Power comes up with such an incentive and wants to reduce power, especially want to reduce the cost of prices, especially for the electric users, is this going to increase even the spread of this across the country?
Yeah, KPLC did they did a very good initiative to promote e-mobility with the e-mobility tariff, and it's already in place.
Yes.
So there's multiple businesses and multiple personal users who have an e-mobility tariff, and like you said, so during the day, it's approximately 17 shillings per kilowatt or per unit, and then at night, where most of the time that people charge their vehicles, I think it's 6 to 7 shillings per unit.
Okay. So
your savings are massive. So you can compare if you're just using the usual tariff. You are saving at least 4 times more what you're using right now on your transport cost if you have an electric car. So for example, if you're spending 20,000 on fuel a month, you'll be spending 5,000. And that's just on I'm being very pessimistic rather. I'm not trying to hype up the figures, but it's at least just on the fuel versus electricity cost. So once you're in the mobility tariff, which is just an application you need to do,
yes,
and it's put in your account, or they install you get a new meter dedicated to mobility, you're spending, you're saving at least 7 times more on your transport costs. So if your business and you have multiple cars, you can imagine the savings. If you're a personal owner and you just have your own vehicle, you can imagine the amount of savings. So if you're saving, the example I gave you, 15,000 shillings a month on your transport costs, imagine in a year. My math is not the great, but that's close to 300,000 shillings. And then maintenance costs, you're spending in a year less than 10,000 shillings on maintenance. And it's not really maintenance. You don't really need to maintain an electric car because it has very few moving parts. All you need to do is just look, inspect.
All right. Even as we come to a close of this conversation, let us look at the public charging stations, public. And I would just like to ask you, how many have you seen so far, especially when it comes to the PSVs and where they charge, if you've seen any? And what is the future, especially when it comes to the charging stations? Because now EPRA said that, but now we are waiting for this to be actualized. So briefly, even as we close.
So apart from our public charging stations, we've seen businesses that have put public charging stations. We just put 2 charging stations for NCBA Bank in Upper Hill. And from what I believe, they're going to expand. They're just public charging stations, just even for just their customers. There is also other businesses which have put their charging stations. I'm not sure if they're public or they're just for the PSVs. But from what I know, we get our charging, most of our users are just normal people. And then about 30% of the public service vehicles that charge within the, where they see we have our chargers at. So what I see the future is of course, our 6 public charging stations within Nairobi. We see adding now in the other cities. We want to do Eldoret as well, so that to cover most of the country where most people travel. And it's inevitable compared to 2 years ago, where we had almost 0 public charging stations, to next year we'll have multiple, to where everywhere you go you'll see either public charging stations, of course with government support and etc., but also every day you'll see an electric vehicle.
Okay.
I see an electric vehicle every day, but you know, no most people will recognize it because I'm in the field.
Okay. All right. Yadio, I have to cut you short there so that we've come to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Today. All right. There you have it. We've come to the end of this edition of Business Today. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Stick around. Mbiu ya KTN is coming up next.